Hello and welcome to the GBC Productions channel. This is episode 50. In this video, I will be testing the picture tube in a color television. This is an old TV from 1990, as you can see right there on the manufacture date. The picture tube in this has some issues. This TV has a lot of hours on it. The red seems to be kind of faded. All the colors are actually kind of faded on it, but especially the red. It also acts like there's an internal short in the tube. So we're going to take a quick look at the back of this, and then we're going to get inside and test the tube. As you can see, this TV has quite a few inputs and outputs on it. These are all just composite inputs and outputs. Down here we see the EIA multi-port or SCART connector. 2 antenna inputs and actually an RF output. Now the power connector looks like a standard IEC connector without the ground. And around front, it's nothing but a standard 20-inch color picture tube. Now before I take this cover off, we're going to take a look down here. We do have some controls on the back here. Adjustments for red, green, and blue bias and drive. And also the vertical adjustment. Now over here is the screen adjustment. This goes right to the flyback transformer. Now before I get the cover off, this is the remote for the TV. This is an aftermarket remote, but it's very similar to the original remote. This one actually has fewer buttons than the original remote. And I also still have the owner's manual to this TV. It's actually quite thick for a owner's manual for a television set. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take the cover off and reposition the camera. Now on the inside of the cover here, there is some service information. And there's another service label on the other side of this case. I'm going to flip it around. And that's all there is to see on the case. I'm going to set this aside and we're going to get into looking at the picture tube. So we're going to run a tube test on this. So now I have to carefully take this circuit board off the back of the tube. Before I do that, let's take a closer look at the adjustments on the back here now that the cover's off. You can see there were a couple that were hidden under the cover. These two you have to have the cover off in order to adjust. And over here you have to have the cover off to get at the focus adjustment. I just have to kind of readjust here. and get my picture tube tester. It'll take me a moment to find it and dust it off, but I will be back after a momentary pause. Let's take a closer look around inside here before I hook up the tube tester. As you can see, I've already disconnected that circuit board off the back of the tube. Here's the flyback transformer. And here's the information on the tube itself. And this, of course, is the anode connection. There isn't much else to see. You can see the speaker and the degauss coil. Alright, here's the picture tube tester that I'm using. It's been a long time since I've used this thing, so I will be referencing the manual quite a bit. Well, here we are inside the tube tester. I haven't hooked anything up yet, and I'm just basically referencing the owner's manual, trying to look up this tube. We'll try to do a rejuvenator clean and balance. So I'm just going to read the instructions real quick and set it up for this tube. Here's the tube we're going to test. It shows a 6.3 volt filament voltage and socket number 23. I already have it hooked up, so now we just go through step 1 of the instructions here. Well, the first thing it says to do is set all the knobs counterclockwise. And we've already looked at the setup chart and gotten the adapter set up. So the first thing to look at is the G2 normal high switch is set to normal, which it is. So now we'll set up the filament heater voltage to the 4 to 7 volt range. Oh yeah, it is specifically telling me in the instructions to make sure the TV is not plugged in at this point. So now I'll turn the function switch to setup. And then I'll turn the page. Now I have to adjust the heater voltage, or filament voltage, while monitoring the meter that is going to tell me what the heater voltage is. And it's using the meter on the left for heater voltage at this setting. And I'm just going to adjust it until this one reads 6.3. That's turned pretty much all the way up, and it's showing 6.3 now. Now I set G1. Now before we set the G1 voltage here, we got to look at the footnotes that were in the book for the tubes. So according to the footnotes here, we're setting the G1 voltage to 50. Since we didn't have an asterisk or two asterisks, we'll set it to 50. So we'll adjust this until we see 50 volts on the middle gauge. Now the meter on the right is showing the line voltage, which is going to be 120 volts here. So now we're going to do the leakage test. Now the lights here will indicate leakage. I'm going to turn off my lights here to see if we can see a little bit better. There is a little bit of flicker in there. According to the instructions, that's fine. So let's move on to the next step. Now we have to set cutoff. So now we have to adjust the G2 knobs and go up one division according to the instructions. So I'll start with adjusting the red. And then the green. And then the blue. So now we'll put this into test mode. And now we can see here that red is on the low side. It's right on the borderline. Green is also very low. Blue is in great shape. Now, several years ago, a rejuvenation was run on this TV, and it cleared it up, and it was great for several years, but more problems have shown up since then. Anyway, we're going to go on to doing the tracking test. So we press the tracking test button. And then we'll adjust the tracking knob until the pointer with the highest reading is at the set tracking line. And now we're going to do the life test, which is very similar to doing the life test on the vacuum tubes I did in an earlier video of the oscillator. So I press the life test button and they're all coming down quite rapidly. Red and green are bad, blue is borderline. This tube is done. I don't see much point in running a restoration on this tube, but we could do it just to do it. Before we do that, we'll do the focus test. And a little flicker like that indicates that it's good. So now we'll try to restore this thing. Now we don't need to do the remove shorts because, as we saw earlier on, there weren't any. So just for fun, we're going to do the clean and balance. And we're going to have to wait a moment here for the tube to warm up a little bit more. It does increase the filament voltage. So now all we have to do is just hit the restore button under each gauge. Hold on, I will be right back. I've got a little interruption. Okay, now I'm back. So I'm supposed to press and hold the button until it comes down to 0.2 according to the gauge. So now on to the green. And we'll do it on the blue as well. So now we'll go back to test. And we have to wait for the heater to cool off a little bit. Looks like the green came back, but the red is still no good. Don't forget to subscribe for more, mash that like button, and comment below. Until next time, this is Uncle D from GBC Productions, signing off.